Welcome everyone, Costini here with a discussion about World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King Classic, which finally has a release date. According to worldofwarcraft.com, Wrath of the Lich King Classic arrives on September 26th, and they go over what it contains. They have an announced trailer, they talk about Death Knights, professions, etc. And importantly, they're also talking about Joyous Journeys, 50% experience buff ahead in Burning Crusade Classic. So they're going to give us, until the launch, a 50% experience boost. Now, I'm guessing this is going to apply to the fresh servers, of course, so that we can level much faster there. Though 50%, I'll be honest with you, isn't really a great amount of experience. Now, what do I think about this release date? Well, first off, there was obviously the leak that happened, or the accident, if you will, though I don't believe when it comes to Blizzard that there are such things like that are accidents. I think it was deliberate to build up hype, or it could have genuinely been an accident, though I would be pretty surprised if that ended up being the actual situation. So I think Blizzard did that. They posted that, built up hype over a couple of days. Now we have the full announcement of a release date. Now, is Wrath of the Lich King Classic ready based on what I've seen in the beta? No. And it's sad to say it because they are actually doing a lot of things right. They're making certain changes that are for the better when it comes to loot, for instance, and raiding, that kind of stuff. They are making some changes for the better. Some for the worse, like the removal of the random dungeon finder, but they are making good decisions in quite a few ways. However, the problem right now with Wrath is that despite the good decisions they're making, despite the fact that they are actually giving people some time now before the pre-patch, before the full release, like almost 2 full months before it comes out, which certainly wasn't the kind of warning we got with TBC, for instance. And that kind of warning is important. Why is it important? It's important because you need guilds to form. You need communities to have time to prepare themselves for that kind of launch. Now, even so, 2 months may not necessarily be enough time, but it's certainly better than nothing, and it's certainly better than having an announcement coming out of the blue. So it's certainly a lot better than what we've had before. Could be better, could be even better. Now, I think Blizzard wasn't necessarily certain if they were going to be able to do it, and in quite a lot of ways they are pushing it. But it is important to give people advance notice so guilds can form, people can figure out, oh, am I going to have time to level? Am I going to have time to raid? Am I going to have my schedule clear, or will I have a lot of things happening in real life at that time? This is the kind of stuff people need to sort out. This is the kind of stuff that matters to guilds. A number of guilds I personally saw with TBC, because the way Blizzard handled it, the lack of time, all that, a lot of guilds ended up suffering greatly because of the way Blizzard handled the launch of TBC Classic. So it seems they're avoiding making the same mistakes there. They're also buffing next rounds. But here's the issue. Right now, the beta is probably the buggiest of all of the classic betas we've had so far. There are class issues. As a paladin, I can't use Greater Blessing of Sanctuary. Warriors have had issues with overpower. Armor penetration apparently doesn't work or hasn't worked. I'm not sure if that's been fixed. Sure, there are some issues that I saw a few days ago that may or may not have been fixed by this point, but there's been issues from the start of the beta, like the Greater Blessing of Sanctuary issue, that haven't really been fixed for quite a while. And they're telling us now, with those kind of issues and many, many others, dungeon issues, quest issues, raid issues, like I was doing the Battle of Undercity, and Sylvanas wasn't showing up, even though she plays a pretty significant role there. And there's RP, but she didn't show up for me. Maybe she got stuck on a mob somewhere. But you had all this RP at the end of the event, at the end of the Battle of Undercity, that is involving Sylvanas, and she just wasn't there. So that was an issue. Apparently, Ice Crown quests weren't working for quite a while, so people couldn't even level to 80 through questing. They had to grind mobs. That's what I've been told. Dungeons are very buggy. A lot of them are apparently very buggy. And raiding, well, raiding wasn't certainly an interesting experience. I cleared all the raiding content in a group, in a pug, really. We got Obsidian Slayer, the realm first title for killing Sarfarian. We did Sarfarian 2 Drakes. Sarfarian, pretty okay. Not many issues to complain about there. I actually can't really think of any issues that happened there. But Naxxramas, that's a different ballgame. Enter Gloof. Now, Gloof is supposed to spawn zombies, then he's supposed to decimate them at a certain point. If they get too close to him, he'll eat them and heal up. So you're supposed to constantly kite the zombies until a decimate happens, then you kill them as they drop to low HP, as does the entire raid. What happened in the beta is that Gloof would decimate, the raid would take significant damage, but the zombies would stay full HP, which meant we couldn't kill them. We did manage to kill the boss by kiting him around, by using slow traps, totems, frost novas, holy rafts, etc. to slow the mobs down. We didn't manage to do it, but it certainly was an exercise in frustration, and honestly one of the hardest bosses we dealt in the entire tier. That and Patchwork and Thaddeus. Surprisingly, yeah, Thaddeus had a lot of HP. We got to the enrage. But the point I'm making with all of this is there's a large number of issues that currently exist in the beta. Do I see Blizzard fixing those issues in 2 months? Potentially. I'm not going to say it's not possible. But do I see them fixing them in 1 month for the release of the pre-patch, which will matter a great deal? I don't think so. I genuinely don't see them fixing these issues, and I think what's going to happen with Wrath, what I expect will happen with Wrath the Lich King Classic, if it comes out on September 26th, unless they have some internal build where they fixed a lot of these issues, which I won't put money down on. Unless they have something like that happening, they will not fix these issues. It would be very interesting if the pre-patch launched and armor penetration wasn't working, for instance, or if there were talent issues, class issues, you name them. That would not be a great pre-patch to play through, to be honest with you. And then there's really the question, will they fix all the raiding, questing, dungeon issues? Probably not. Like, there will be issues. In its current state, if Wrath launches on September 26th, there will be issues, there will be bugs, some fairly serious ones at that, with the game. And I think to some extent, Blizzard is trying to rush it to make their quarterly financials look better. At least they've avoided a full-on summer release this time around, as they did with TBC. So they are improving, but it's clear that the job isn't finished, that the work isn't done, that they had a lot more to do than they could manage, and they've been obviously under a lot of pressure to release it this year. And I think to some extent, to a large extent actually, I'm very surprised by their decision to release both Wrath Classic and Dragonflight this year. To an extent, it makes sense because Shadowlands is not doing so well. TBC has its own issues, so they are trying to really reinvigorate WoW. But although I don't know the state of Dragonflight, I do know the state of Wrath, having been playing the beta, and it's just not ready for release. Now, with that said, having done the rating, what do I think about Naxx 2.0 and the buff they introduced? It's a 30% buff, as people have data mined. Well, it was certainly interesting. Patchwork was quite a bit more challenging. We did get pretty good template gear this time around, so Blizzard has learned lessons from TBC, from the TBC beta, where they gave us pretty crappy gear, but this time around they gave us pretty decent gear on the template, so professions, reputations, etc. There were issues. It wasn't perfect, but they did give us quite a bit to work around, and decent enough gear that, although it's certainly not pre-raid best in slot, it's not horrible either. In fact, it's a pretty reasonable gear set that quite a few people would actually have before they step into raiding, dependent on how crazy they are when it comes to leveling and doing dungeons in the week that we'll apparently have before the raiding comes out. But yeah, when it comes to the raiding, many bosses obviously were fairly easy. Naxx 2.0 has always been a fairly easy raid, though there were some interesting challenges not the buggy ones. I'm not talking about the buggy ones like Gloof. I found myself surprised by the enrage timer on Vadius and the DPS requirements on that boss. We did manage to get the enrage timer once, and we pretty much needed to do it with no mistakes if we were going to succeed, and that certainly turned out to be interesting. It was fun. I'll say that it was fun. It wasn't too frustrating, and I also have to say the client overall runs pretty smoothly, so those are points in its favor. But I think Wrath has been a popular expansion for many, many years now on various servers, from retail, various servers, for a reason. It's very easy to get into, it's very easy to like it, the class gameplay is superior, and although two of the rating tiers, basically Nax and TOGC, aren't good at all, they can be fun dependent on how long they're gonna last. One of the concerns I have with Nax 2.0 actually at the moment is that they've buffed it, okay, but are they gonna use the excuse of the fact that they've buffed it to pad its length out? Or are they gonna have it last for decent enough duration and then move on to Ulduar, which is really the rating tier that we want to play, because Ulduar is amazing. I really hope that they're not going to linger too long in Nax 2.0, though they very well might do so. But anyway, that's all I had to say for a moment. There's much more to say in future videos, but I'm going to leave you with this. Costin signing out. Don't forget to subscribe, like, enable notifications, join my Discord, and hey, if you enjoy the content, consider throwing $1 or $2 via PayPal or Patreon. It would be greatly appreciated.